Hey everybody, Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country here on Fish Creek Radio. The gentleman that's on my show tonight played drums for the great Merle Haggard for about 42 years. And he said about Biff Adam, he said, a tough old boy, and he's got some legs that are incredible, and he can stay in tempo and keep the beat longer than any drummer in America. Well said, and I wholeheartedly agree. He's the best out there. And it's a pleasure to welcome him to the show. Would you say hi to Biff Adam? Biff, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm getting older, but still hanging on.
Well, that's fantastic. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and thanks to Debbie for getting us set up so we had a chance to talk today.
Yeah, she's here. She's sitting over there still.
All right, I had a nice visit with her the other day too. What a great lady.
Yeah.
And my son is very anxious to hear this interview. He's been drumming. He drummed for me for the last 2 years, and I have a country band up here, and he played drums for me. And he really takes note of you and has followed your music, and so he's going to be real tickled to hear this interview.
Great.
Well, Biff, tell me a little about your growing up. You were born in Reading, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, Reading, Pennsylvania, and I lost my mom and dad when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, and I went to the Milton Hershey School, which at that time was considered an orphanage type thing, and it was a school for boys, orphan boys, and I graduated from there in 54, and I went in the Navy in 56 or 57, and I got out of the Navy. While I was in the Navy, I got to meet Roger Miller and Bobby Bear. They were working at a nightclub in Long Beach, California, and I used to sit in with them. And when I got out of the service, I couldn't really find a good job back in Pennsylvania, so they wanted me to come out there and go to work for them. So I went out to Long Beach and sort of got started in country music there.
Wow, that's pretty cool. When did you start playing drums, Biff?
When I was in school, I was sixth grade, fifth grade, and it was sort of a natural thing. I took lessons for maybe 2 or 3 months, and the teacher said, "I think you know more about drums than I do." So I got to be a teacher for the last couple of years.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I understand you received a award from the Hershey School alumni there, and that Merle came to the ceremony and sang in the choir. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's quite an honor. That's quite an honor.
It really was. It was a nice thing for me. Debbie said you were interested in who my hero was as far as drummer goes. It was Gene Krupa.
Oh, wow. Well,
and I told her I don't think she recognized either. When Merle did the I Love Dixie Blues album in New Orleans, we had that Dixieland 4 with us, and at the office in Bakersfield, Gene Krupa called up and congratulated Merle on the album because he said it was real nice because he was mainly into Dixieland and stuff. And Merle said, "Well, why don't you tell the drummer that?" He said, "He's sitting right here." So I got to talk to Krupa on the phone. That was a thrill of mine.
Oh, wow, that's cool. No kidding.
So I felt really good about that.
I guess so. Well, I also learned something else about you that I didn't know. You were the session drummer for the Jungle Book soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah, they did a couple albums uh, for the Disneyland thing, and I forget how many songs were on it, but anyway, yeah, came up with that beat. It was sounded like a bear.
Yeah. I my sister took me to see that movie when I was a kid, and I always loved that song, and that was really cool for me to find out that that's you playing on there. And you also did some work with the Ventures too, is that right?
Well, yeah, I took the Ventures, their drummer, the guy that went with them on the road. I took his job. He was at the Palomino Club in North Hollywood, and he was there, and I was doing some sessions in Hollywood. So I took the job there at the Palomino, and I worked there for 5 years. That's where Merle hired me out of the Palomino. He came in there one night and said, "Are you looking for a job?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I got one for you if you want it." So I took it.
Wow. You were playing with Red Roads and the Detours, is that right?
Right. Yeah, we have one album out too. It's
Now,
that's all we had.
Dennis Romack was on that too, right? Was Bobby Wayne also on that?
Yeah, Bobby and Dennis. No, I'm not sure Dennis was on. Yeah, Dennis was. He was on the album, and we all Bobby, Dennis, and me both. All three of us went with Haggard about the same in a month's time.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That was the most popular nightclub, country club out here on the West Coast for an awful long time.
So what was the first recording session you did with Merle Haggard?
The first, I don't know. The one in Philadelphia, I think, was the first live one we done.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the other sessions were cut at Capitol down in Hollywood. And I can't remember the name of the song anymore. It was...
Was it Fight Inside? You did Fight Inside album.
Yeah, Fight Inside was alive, and that was the Live in Philadelphia album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to do all his recording at Capitol until he got his own studio, and but I'm playing on an awful lot of records.
You sure are. Well, pretty much everything from that point forward, you're on it somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I also heard that Ringo Starr was a pretty big admirer of your playing too.
Who?
Ringo Starr.
Ringo, yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy. He was trying to get Merle to sing on one of his records, and he was at the studio up in Reading, and I was there, and he said Merle, if Biff ever gets sick, he said, I'd like to fill in for him. And Merle, just kidding with him, he said, I don't know if you can cut Biff's job. And Ringo's never let me forget that.
That's great.
It was a joke because Ringo, he's a real good guy.
That's really cool. Well, you guys recorded some great instrumental albums too, and I wanted to ask you about Biff Bam Boom, the one that you played on the Introducing My Friends the Strangers album.
Yeah, I wrote that. I got writers for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them albums sold pretty good. We did four albums, and That was a lot of fun.
I'll bet you. Yeah, there's some great stuff on there. Of course, the introduction to that Merle came out to for a good many years was Hamming It Up.
Yeah. Yeah, Norm wrote that, Hamlet, and Roy was there, and Roy was a great player. And Bobby and Dennis, we had a good rhythm section.
I thought that
five of us.
I thought that particular unit was probably the best of not to discredit any of the other musicians. They were all good, but I thought that unit was probably the best sound that I'd ever heard in the Strangers.
Yeah, Marty Stewart said the same thing at the funeral a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I told your daughter yesterday when I talked to her. Your drumming, I can always tell when you're playing and when you're not playing. You have this incredible style, and I wanted to ask you about that double shuffle beat that you came up with. How did that come about?
Well, it just all the country drummers, they used to play the shuffle beat with their right hand, and they play cross strick with their left hand, and or backbeat with their left hand. And I always thought, I wonder how it sounded like if I shuffled with both hands. So I did that, and it just sort of fell into a real good groove. A lot of the players from Nashville, when they come by the Palomino, they said, "Will you show me that double shuffle?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "If you're playing the shuffle with your right hand, you can certainly turn it over. Play with your left hand." So that's sort of how that got started. Now everybody plays that way.
Well, you got a trend going there. Tell me about Bob Wills. I understand you played with Bob Wills on his last show.
Yeah, his last show in Fort Worth. The good thing about that weekend was that night we played at Fort Worth, and the next day we played at the White House.
Oh wow!
For Nixon, that was a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, I guess so.
But at Fort Worth, the Playboys were playing, and Bob's drummer couldn't make it, so Bob sent a message over to Merle's bus that said, would it be okay if your drummer played with the Playboys? And Merle said, I think it'd be a great honor, So I played the whole job with them, and it was fun, but that was after we'd done our tribute to Bob album. I love the best damn fiddle player.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with a lot of their songs.
Now, Merle had the Texas Playboys out to his house one time and did a recording there, too. Is that right?
Yeah, at Merle's house in Bakersfield, yeah. Yeah, we did it all out by the swimming pool. We had a recording. Well, Capitol Records was there. They recorded the whole show. That was fun.
Oh, I'll bet it was. Tell me what kind of drums kits you've played over the years, and what are some of your favorite drum kits to play?
Well, I started with Rogers, and then the Rogers factory burned down, so I went with I think Yamaha. I liked them. And then the guys from Pearl came out and talked me into playing Pearl. And let's see, the ones I'm playing now are they're made in Germany, I think.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, tell me about your snare drum. I understand that you've had the same snare drum for a long time and some of the same cymbals too.
Yeah, they built me a cherry wood snare drum that is really great. It's a good crisp sound, and I love it. I guard it with my life.
I bet you. Tell me about some of the people that stayed at your house when we were playing at the Palomino Club.
Oh,
Give up my bed.
huh?
I used to have to give up my bed.
Gordon Terry and
Bobby Bear.
Bobby Bear and let's see who else. They used to all come. Well, it was
Mel Tillis, I think.
it was some of them. Let's see. Debbie, who was it all?
I think Tillis, what's his name? The one that stuttered.
Mel Tillis?
Mel Tillis?
Mel Tillis.
Yeah, they came by.
Seems like somebody every week.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. The Bronco Billy movie was that the part that you guys were on? Was that filmed at the Palomino?
yeah. Well, Eastwood came into Palomino a lot of times. He done a couple of his movies there. At Bronco Billy, we done that up in Idaho. Yeah, that was. Clint Eastwood and Merle got to be pretty good friends, and well, Eastwood, he's just a real nice person. One time I was in the office up there, and my wife was at the front office, and Clint Eastwood bought the Bing Crosby Ranch up there, and his mother was living there. So he was up there once in a while. So my wife came back to the office where I was and said, Biff, you guys out at the grocery store, Clinton and Merle are throwing lettuce heads at each other. I said, what? So they were just messing around out at the grocery store, out in the middle of nowhere.
That's something nobody would believe if you told that story. You know, I saw Merle Haggard and Clint Eastwood throwing lettuce at each other.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I love that movie. You guys are doing Misery and Gin, and then the bar fight breaks out, and there's a shot where you're sitting back on the drums just laughing. And that was just hilarious. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I told Eastwood, I said, I want to be in that fight. He said, no, you can't. Insurance. So he said, he's going to throw a beer bottle right past your ear, and it bounced off the walls. It was made out of that sugar,
You brought one of them and broke it on my head.
out of that stuff that busts up real easy. And I said, if he hits me with it, I will be in the fight. You know, Eastwood's never let me forget that when he sees me.
Oh man, that's great. Oh, I love that movie. Every time I watch that, I just get such a kick out of that part, and I always see you laughing back there, and that's a great scene. Well, tell me about some of your favorite recordings that Merle did over the years. Some things that really stood out to you.
Well, I love Dixie Blues because I got to kick off that the song. I always love the blues, you know, and that should have been a big album, but for some reason the cover of the album didn't justify what was in it, and I love that album, and of course Fight Inside and Muskogee and
Silver Wings.
which one?
Silver Wings.
Silver Wings, yeah. I forget what album that was on, but
Farmer's Daughter at my wedding.
Oh, Farmer's Daughter's my favorite song. I love that one.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Merle was at Debbie's wedding, and he did he sing it?
Yeah.
He sang it at her wedding. She's always.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's my favorite song. I love that one.
Yeah.
How was the when you guys toured? I noticed kind of over the years that the songs kind of evolved and changed a little bit. And what was all the reason behind the tempo changes and everything like that?
tired of singing the same songs all the time, you know. So he changed them a little bit, put some dynamics in them, let the guitar player play a little bit more than they did on the session or something like that. After you sing your own songs like he did, he got tired of them, you know, just wanted to update them a little bit.
Well, I imagine you really had to be on your toes because you never knew what he was going to do on stage. And, you know, of course, you having to kick off most of these songs, you know, I imagine you probably had to watch him pretty close.
Yeah, he used to say that Biff picks up tempos on these songs quicker than anybody. He said, quicker than I do, because he kicked them off, and I try to always get them on the second beat. And I'd luck out a lot, get them.
I don't think I ever heard you miss. Well, there was a period of time that Merle was using two different drummers on some of his sessions with MCA. I know Stay Here and Drink, and then he had another drummer that played on the road with you for a while. Is that right?
Yeah, well, Stay Here and Drink, we used two drummers, just to change the sound a little bit. And then I had problem. I had my left shoulder. I had to get it reconstructed, so my left hand was out of whack for a while. So I got it back in shape again. I got a piece of steel in my left arm from my shoulder to my elbow. I have a real rough time getting on airports.
I'll bet.
But yeah, it's well, 42 years is a long time.
Yeah, I guess so. That's for sure. How did you get the name Biff?
Well, when I was in school, it was Beef, because I was playing football and I was, you know, heavy. And when I got to playing with some of the guys out in Long Beach, they said, we don't like that name. We're going to change it to Biff. So that's what happened. They just started calling me Biff. And in fact, I had a set of drums where it had beef on the head, and it was, we had to go get it repainted.
That's pretty cool. Merle did a series of remakes of his hit songs in the 90s, and do you know what the reason was behind that?
No, just update them for Sirius radio and stuff like that. And he wanted to get his, I guess, wanted his youngest son to play lead on them. And I don't know, you just get some of the old equipment, you know, you got to update it to get it played.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a lot of them, and of course, you were up. I think you were playing on all those sessions.
Yeah.
I understand you.
Yeah, I don't know. I never counted really how many albums I'm playing on, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up because you know, you were pretty much on every album, I think, from like you said, The Fight Inside of Me, right on up through. At least, you know, I know some of the later albums you might have only played a song or two, but I think you were on pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I don't know. There's 9 gold albums here at the house. I got to hang it up, but and Merle said there's more than that, but. I just could overdo that, you know.
What was it like recording? How did the recording process go? Did you guys lay down the tracks ahead of time and then Merle would do the vocals, or did you do everything all at the same time?
No, that's what I always liked about recording. He always had the melodies in his head and the words. And we just go in the studio and lay down. Sometimes we didn't even know what the name of the song was, but he'd sing it to us once. We'd sit there with the earphones on and listen to it. Then I'd say, Merle, what kind of beat do you want on this? He said, I don't know. He said, you just play what you feel. Feel whatever's comfortable for you to play. We'll see what it sounds like. So we'd do it, and I'd play what I thought would fit. And I said, is that okay? He said, sounds great. And that was it.
Wow.
He never wrote it out or changed it or nothing like that. The one song that he did before I got there was that song George Strait did too.
Right or wrong?
The one about Mexico.
Oh, Seashores of Old Mexico.
Shores, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was recorded before I was there.
Oh, is that right?
And so when we were at Capitol, he said, "Do you like that beat, Biff?" I said, "Yeah, it sounds okay." He said, I want you to go put your beat on that song." He said, "We'll erase what's on there, and we'll just stay out of the studio, and you just be out there by yourself and just put it." So that's what they did. They played it for me on the earphones, and I played what I felt. And I went back in. I said, "Did you get that? That you record that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Is it okay?" He said, "Don't touch it." Exactly what. And then when George Strait did it, George said, "Who came up with that beat?" I said, I did, I guess. He said, "That's great." He said, I played hell getting my drummer to play that. He said, "But it really sounds," he said, "it really sounds good." So
yeah, it's kind of a 3/4 time with with kind of a shuffle in it almost.
Yeah. And
Merle and Willie recorded that together too, didn't they?
I think so. It's a Latin thing, but what I felt for it,
I always liked It's All in the Movies too with the bongos. I think were you playing bongos on that one?
Yeah, he did that at the Grand Ole Opry at the old Opera House. We did a show there, and he did it. And Norm played the dobro, and I played a conga drum. And we were the only two guys besides Merle that was on the stage played that.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And Merle said, "I'll bet you're the only guy that's ever played conga drums on the Grand Ole Opry." I said,
I'll bet.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I never checked, but
that was a good show. Listening to the Wind too. You guys did that like that too on that show.
Right.
That was pretty. Yeah. Did you play the bongos on the original recording of that?
What?
Of It's All in the Movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That was a great sound. Well, when was the last year that you were working for Merle as a drummer on the road?
Well, I got off, and then I went back out. Then
Health.
Huh?
With your health.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what year it was.
I know the last time I saw you was in 2010, but you weren't playing that night. It was, Jeff Ingram was playing drums. I think you were driving bus.
Yeah. Who was playing?
Jeff Ingram.
Oh. Yeah.
Maybe about then.
Yeah, that's
probably about right.
Somewhere right in there.
I don't know exactly.
Well, you had a lot of years with him, that's for sure. I understand you and Merle were both into flying airplanes.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Well, got your mind.
everybody says. Say, sorry, you missed your boss. I said, well, he was more than my boss. He was a close friend. I said, we were always together. I was always on his bus, and driving it or taking care of it. And
You both went to pilot school.
that's what. And then we got our pilot license together. I went ahead and got my commercial license. He had 3 airplanes, and not at one time, but we used to fly. About the last flight I did with Merle was we brought a new airplane from Nashville to Bakersfield, and he was a great pilot. He had good touch, and I did all the radio work, and Bonnie and my wife Betty were on the on the tarmac when we landed in Bakersfield. Said, "You guys made it." I said, "Of course we made it."
Well, you and Betty lived on Merle's ranch for quite a long time, too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, she did a lot of work in the office. She helped Merle out a lot, and I did a lot of the other stuff around there. And when he had Silverthorne, I was the president of Silverthorne, and I used to take care of a lot of that. Mm-hmm. So we were more than just band hands together, but pretty close. I'm gonna miss him.
Oh, so am I. I'll tell you what, it was like losing a family member for me, I can't tell you how much the music means to me and all the wonderful times I've gotten to spend, with Merle and with all of you guys. And I want to thank you for all the wonderful music you've given to not only me but everybody, and all the wonderful memories. I think it means more than you could possibly imagine to so many people.